All right, I'm ready to sit here for an hour and get my 5 or 10 people to watch. I don't know, whatever the number is. The last romance video did about as well as I would expect. Like I usually am content if it gets 100 views. It didn't get that good or that far, but we'll see over the next few days what happens. We got our resident insane person leave a comment that this website can be quite frustrating with some of the people that are on it. I tell you. Because I used to think maybe it was just people say the algorithm screws people over, but it's like even when something gets very little attention, there's still like weird stuff being written on it. That's what I think is really sad. Like there's no shortage of people that'll just write something bizarre or strange or whatever other term you want to use. So we'll see if anybody comes in here. I really am contemplating doing a video on people that don't read because I was getting pretty fed up yesterday or the day before that with this person that I guess basically for me, I've always been the type of individual that if I like, let's say, a franchise or some kind of series, right, and they put out media for it, I'm going to more likely than not observe that media. So, for example, when I was a kid, I used to like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Um, the I actually watched the premiere of it when I was in, I think, what was that, first grade? Yeah, 2005. And I watched the show and I guess was disappointed when it ended. And then 3, 4 years later, they put out some comics. And even if I would have preferred a fourth season to a continuation of comics, I still read the comics anyway because I wanted to see the story continue. So it didn't really matter to me if it was a different medium as long as it was the same, characters. I wanted to see more content with them in it. So I think it was Tuesday. I had a person who I was talking about X-Men with, and they were like, "Oh, I've never read an X-Men comic, but I have this collectibles like because again, it's that same thing of, oh, I like this group or this team, but if they put out books, I for whatever reason can't read any of them." And they always use the same couple of excuses. Oh, I don't have the money for it, even though they're all online for free. Oh, I don't know where to start, even though they literally have the issues numbered, and you can look it up. And again, if it's somebody like, let's say, for example, I don't know, my mother, she doesn't like superheroes. So you're not going to see her watch any of the movies. You're not going to see her watch any of the cartoons. You're not going to see her reading the comics. And I'm completely content with that because that's someone who is consistent with not liking this stuff in any capacity. I just think it's really sad because there are a lot of comics that I think have good stories in them. And a lot of writers I think are really good. And then it just sucks that these stories will never be seen by these people unless it gets turned into a film. Like, and then even then it has a chance of getting screwed over, like with the Dark Phoenix saga, where that's considered by some people to be one of the greatest comics ever. Um, and pretty much every time it gets adapted to something other than the animated series from the 90s, it doesn't hold up or as like being as good as the comic. You get to I don't even know what that means. Um, it's really lame. I don't understand people, and I've even had like different people admit they don't like reading, and I always say, if it's a regular book, I understand where you don't want to look at a wall of text. Again, even though I don't have a problem with that, usually depending on what the material, like if it's about a biography or some acclaimed author like Chomsky or one of those other people, I'm more interested in reading it because it's about real life events. But a book with pictures, they're like unable to do it. Just it really baffles me. Oh yeah, I've heard of Judge Dredd. I got confused by the title. I don't know. They do things I don't understand. Like I remember, and I've mentioned this before. Comics were initially seen in the United States as books that were meant for children and illiterate adults, and now adults are so illiterate that they can't even read the thing that was intended for kids. Like I think that's really in hindsight very amusing. And it's not even just with American comics. Like I know people who will sit there and say they don't want to read a manga, and then like they also don't have the time to watch, let's say, the anime's version of events because it's filler and like stretched. I'm like, but if you read the manga, it's faster. Like, so I said this stuff can get really irritating. Because again, it's like, it just seems like they're roadblocking and putting up every possible excuse to not do something. You know, centered around characters they claim to like. So like they put out an X-Men movie, these people will write all these different story slash action is conveyed differently through animation. Yeah, it's also conveyed differently through a comic where there's a visual representation of a story. I don't really see how that's a counter to what I've said. And hey, leave it to YouTube for somebody to find something weird to say. That's what they tend to do. Person is I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'll call you Gaida. I use the last part of your name. You can put the pronunciation in there. No, it just seems really weird to me. Like, and I get it where somebody looks at like hundreds of issues, like, oh my god, I want to read all this, but you don't have to do it all in one day. And you can pretty much count with mangas and animes for the stories to be the same, except with the manga, it's faster paced. So if someone looks at an episode count that they think is too long, but they still refuse to read the manga, which is always faster, I don't get them. Like I wanted to see, not see, but I guess re-experience the story of Naruto Shippuden. So if I ever end up doing that, I'll read the manga. I'm not about to sit through 500 episodes. I just don't get people at all. They do crazy stuff. I don't really like reading. I can't look at pictures and a couple of things of text each page. Ugh. It's from a quote by Robert Oppenheimer. Name sounds very familiar. Yeah, people are really disappointing with just the way they act and things they do. And it gets really frustrating when you I don't know, it's just I don't get them. They're weird to me. But they're not weird because they don't like the same stuff. It's just they're weird because they claim to like a certain character, but then if stories are made about the character, they won't read it for some reason. Because I remember when I was a little kid, I didn't have access to comics. Like I didn't know about any of the websites you could read them for free, but I still would look up to see what happened in them. I had my friend about 2 weeks ago ask me. It was either 2 weeks ago or maybe a month ago. We were having a call, and he was like, "Oh, who do you think would win, X Men or Avengers?" I'm like, that already happened. Like, there's literally a comic called Avengers versus X Men. Go read that. I'm not about to sit here and summarize it. And he's like, "Oh, well, I was talking about the core members of both teams." It's like, what core members? There are books where multiple of the most iconic members are not even there. It's just funny that that like major Marvel event happened, and then for almost 10 years, because it came out in 2012, he didn't even know that had occurred. Like that's how out of the loop people are with what actually happens in comics. That's what was funny. It's just like all those people that were talking about recast T'Challa. I'm like, well, you can always see more of that character in the comics, where he will live on in perpetuity for another 40 years. But nobody likes to read books, even ones with pictures in them. That was always one of the things I liked more about comics and a lot of their adaptations. Like you don't see anybody crying about the voices or who doesn't look like this character or um, what was the other ridiculous thing? Like usually when people critique comics, it's the story, the art. Just it feels like those conversations are a lot more substantive than some of the stuff people get into with these adaptations. As someone that works in animation, comics and animation share many qualities, but things like action and pacing are unique to each genre. I can see how people would prefer one over the other. Well, if someone is complaining that something is too long, and I can prove that it would be faster to read that story than to watch it, and that person says, "Well, I don't really like reading," I don't really see what I can do if I can factually prove that it would be quicker to read something than to watch it. What more am I supposed to do? Like if you can read 4 chapters in the time it takes to watch one episode, and the person is saying this is too long for me to revisit. It's like, what do you? Why is this your preference if it's something that you're complaining about the length of, and then the thing that's shorter, you still won't experience it because it's a different genre. Which stream was it where you had the meltdown? Let me go look. Was it this one? I think it was. That was on Monday. Why are you here? That's really weird. He really said later, dude, good luck, and then he's here not even a week later. That's crazy. So I don't get these people. They say they're gonna leave, but then they keep showing up over and over. And then wasn't even talking about what I was talking about. Because I was talking about people who refuse to read something, uh, even if it has the same characters that they claim to like. On the even if it's literally a book with pictures that has a couple of pages parts of text for the most part, and now I'm being told about the difference between animation and comics. I'm like, come on, man, this is not it's not the point, but whatever. Now, there's a lot of stuff that just is getting discussed. Doesn't have anything to do with what I'm talking about. I guess that's another flaw of this website. I remember there was this one stream I did where I was talking about the California Senate election. It was the one where Feinstein got reelected and TYT put up a candidate to beat her, and the lady only got 2% of the vote. Um, and I'm like addressing the election, and I have like two people in the chat, and they're like, "Oh, you're from Germany too? Me too. Oh, you're from over there as well? Me too." I was just rolling my eyes, just ignoring the chat because again, it's irrelevant stuff. It's like if you want to do a little hangout reunion of people from the same country, go do that somewhere else, you know? But then if you ban people for talking about things that are irrelevant, you get villainized or vilified rather. I can't believe he wanted us to address what he was talking about on his stream. Oh, hello, Banana Merchant. I just found out that grown adults can't read books with pictures. I mean, I get that, but that person probably likes the show because of how it is conveyed in animation form. Maybe the reason he likes the animated is missing from the manga. But it's the same listen, when people make adaptations of American comics, they switch and change things, whether that's the art style, basic story elements. With mangas and animes, it's literally the exact same story, slowed down. And if your complaint is that you don't have time to rewatch something, which is why it is recommended to you to read it, which would be quicker, I don't understand. Like literally, mangas and animes have the same story, except it's slower in the anime. Banana says, "Why am I not surprised?" Banana, I really like X-Men. That's why I won't read a single goddamn comic. And again, I don't understand these people because ever since I was a little kid, I've always read comics. I even did I didn't do a video about it, but I did a stream where I talked about the different books I liked. That's really weird. Why am I not surprised? I just think that's so ridiculous. Like, again, an actual novel, like let's say it's Twilight or Harry Potter, I completely understand. But a book with pictures, I didn't even know people like that existed. Like when I was a kid, I just assumed that if people didn't read comics, they at least knew what happened in them. Like that's how I used to be if I couldn't afford a comic or find. Because a lot of times with American comics, singular issues don't get reprinted. So unless you track down that comic in real life or somebody else owns it, you're pretty much screwed as far as if you want to read that story. But these people literally just refuse to hear about it, to see it. It's really sad, and a lot of times this stuff leads to just individuals that say one thing and do the opposite. I don't get them at all. Now, adults will sit up here and say how smart they are and they can't read a book with pictures. I guess I'm just one of those people who enjoyed reading because I love novels. But again, it's like I even tried to give them an out. I said, I understand if you don't want to read a regular book, even if there are regular books that I like. I mentioned before I like political biographies. Because I can see where just reading text would be boring to someone else. But if there's a book where you are what is happening is being drawn and you're seeing it, and all you have to do is read the words accompanying the image. I don't understand. Like they literally treat comics the same way they treat the Bible. Like they will just not read it. Now, the only time you see people like mainstream people talk about comics is if they're trying to either justify some bad story or if they want to like Google search something like, oh, this happened in this story. It's like, yeah, but did you actually read it? Yeah, it's real crazy. I mean, whatever. People just do things I don't understand. And I used to make a lot of justifications for them because I tried to be impartial, like not show some kind of bias. Like I would say, oh, I understand if you can't afford this, but when I found out they were like almost all of them are online for free, including the newest ones, I was like, yeah, my sympathy is kind of waning. I'm starting to think people just like bad writing out of a reactionary feeling. I don't know what they like. I mean, it's like again, regular novel. Oh my God, it's boring. All these walls of text. A comic book. Oh my God, I still can't read this. Like I have seen videos on here of grown men admitting they don't like reading comics. I have one who's like, I don't like flipping pages. I just think it's really weird because it's like they claim to be into all of this same stuff, and then they refuse to engage with it. That's why I gave the example of my mother earlier. Like you're not going to see her watch any of the movies. You're not going to see her play any of the games. She'll be very consistent with just I don't care. And because the writing is good. Now, comic fans are the only fans I've seen of anything that'll actively admit to bad stories. Like nobody I know likes Ultimatum. That's the story from Ultimate Marvel where they basically tried to destroy the whole universe, but having this stupid flood that killed all these characters off in like 4 or 5 issues. Like everybody was saying that was trash. Same thing with Brand New Day. Same thing with what's the other one? There's a lot of stuff, but you get the idea that like they have multiple stories. They say, yeah, this is not good, that's not good. Like they're more willing to criticize their own stuff probably than any other fan base. It's like them and video game fans that just don't play the oh, let's pretend this, let's act like everything that comes out is good. I'm such an intelligent adult, that's why I refuse to read anything. Yeah. Like, dude, it's not even just books, like news articles. The whole point of doing the news what I do, where you read the article and then you talk about what your opinion of it is because I know that a lot of people will just look at the headline and then they won't read the goddamn article. So when you sit there and like those articles are literally, they take less than 3 minutes to read. I've timed it in the video. So it's just really weird to me that these people all like pretend to be smart, but then they can't even do like not even just a book, just a news article or a book with pictures, which are still much shorter than regular books. Like comics, like on average, issues are like 20 pages, whereas a regular book is like 100, 200, 300. So it's really weird to me. And I'm about to read whatever is being written. Two streams about him. Okay, well, nowadays people can just Google information instead of reading. I think that is why No is interested in reading. I mean, if that were true, you wouldn't have books that were bestsellers. Like people would just go online and read a summary, right? They wouldn't buy the actual book. And they don't do that either, James. That's why, like, oh my God, that's why I hate doing streams because it always feels like when someone has a counter argument, they say something that is like disproven earlier in the stream. I had a guy who asked me who would win, Avengers or X-Men. And this is literally the title of a story that was written almost 10 years ago. Now, don't you think that if that person just Googled stuff, right, he would look it up instead of asking me? It's not the same. Okay, listen, every time you come on a stream, you write some antagonistic crap. You said you weren't going to watch me anymore less than a week ago, but here you are. It's not the same, dude. Every time he comes to a stream, and he always says, I'm done with you, I'm not watching, then go. You would think I have like some kind of magnetic hold over these people. If you think we're incorrect on everything we say here, just go watch somebody else. Like, you literally, out of this whole chat, you were the only person doing this. And it was the same thing on Monday. Who is this? Mill Valley. Hello? I hate those automated calls. They always call you some weird stuff. Why are you so defensive? I'm literally just trying to have a no, you're being antagonistic like you always are. I'm over here doing a stream on romance. Everybody in here is talking about their experiences having a civilized statesman-like discussion. You can talk about, well, I don't think you are qualified to speak about this because you have very few experience. I'm like, what the hell does that even mean? You're basing your the entire romance dating scene off of your experience. Like, yeah, this is my channel. Why would I talk about somebody else's experiences? The only person in there antagonistic as all hell. So if you're just trying to have a conversation, apparently you like being argumentative or being a contrarian. Because nobody else in here is trying to tell me that the same story is not different, is not the same because it's in two different mediums. The only difference between the fourth Shinobi War in Shippuden the manga or in Shippuden the anime is that it's stretched out in the anime because they're too damn lazy to not run the show all year long, and they have to make it longer because they refuse to just let it be on timeout so they don't get ahead of the manga. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just flapping his gums. Yeah, every stream he is on. Just antagonism. Like, nobody else in here is trying to tell me, well, there's a difference between animation and comics. Only one. Last Monday. No one else in there is talking about, oh, you're not qualified to speak on this because you don't have the correct number of times of stupid stuff with chicks happening. No one but him. Now, I would very much like him to leave. That would be really nice. Because every stream he shows up on, he acts like a villain. Oh, I got hell for review. Watch him say that I deleted this comment. Because I work as a storyboard artist. I'm not, again, we're talking about how you're antagonistic on every stream. And that wasn't me that timed you out. So that was someone I haven't seen all year that just reappeared. Oh, I was wondering where you disappeared to. I tried to contact you on Discord and you vanished. Every stream he shows up on, it's the same thing. Like it's like whatever the topic is, he's antagonistic. He's like, well, why do you feel this way about this? And again, like the whole rest of the chat is having a productive, non-combative discussion. Like James says something, I make a point about it. He says, all right, well, that's a good, like, you don't have to have this like weird, it's not, this isn't a debate or like we're in a courthouse where there's evidence provided. Now you vanished all year. I'm so disappointed. We were putting up missing person signs and your face on a milk carton. Now let's make up credentials to make himself feel better about a subject he clearly has no knowledge. Yeah, that's what I keep like. If you ban them, they say my freedom of speech is being taken away. But then when you ask them politely, just leave. You're not contributing to the discussion. You're trying to argue with the host. Just please go watch somebody that you think is informed about these topics. They won't do it. Well, Euro, I'd rather you be 30 minutes late than not appear at all. It is what it is. Every stream, it's that same guy. Like, go away. The only person acting like that. I got locked out of my account. Oh, well. I didn't know what way I was supposed to contact you unless I guess came to your country or something. Is this guy one of them? No, this is a guy that I guess went to school with, and then somebody told him that I do streams because apparently I'm more famous than I think. I didn't even know anybody from that school still thought of me at all. And then he started like showing up on my streams, and like every time he shows up, he wants to argue over whatever the topic is. Like nobody else other than him just likes doing that. He's post hoc justifying his nonsense because you backed him into a corner. Glad I also made it to this stream. I'll have to watch it back when it's done. No, Megumi, we were just talking about people who are supposed to be adults, but then they can't even read a book of pictures. Like not an actual novel, a book of pictures that usually isn't even 30 pages long. And I was talking about how it doesn't make sense to me. We've had this conversation before, to be a fan of something, but then refuse to engage with its content. So I gave the example of how I was a fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender when they made comics continuing that show after the third season, even though I would have preferred a fourth season in animation because I like the voice actors, music, whatever. I still read because I wanted to see how the story progressed. And with this person, he's like, well, there's a difference between animation and I was like, no one is saying there isn't, but if the same story, which is what happens with animes and mangas, they have the same story, but the anime usually stretches it out because they don't want to overtake the ongoing manga. And I have a person who says they don't want to revisit the anime's version of events because it's too long for them, but then they also don't want to read the shorter version of the same events in the manga. It's like, well, I'm kind of like backed into a corner. It's like, there still is a difference. Like, it's the same story. Oh my God. Yeah, the chat was decent except that one person. Like, every time he comes to a stream, it's the same thing. I'm tired of these recurring villains. Now, Rev vanished all year. I was wondering what happened to him. I called him repeatedly. He never answered. His sister disappeared too. They all just went into some bottle somewhere. Yeah, the Dudley guy always has some passive aggressive comeback. And again, the rest of the chat isn't acting like that. That's why I said these people do that on purpose. They always want to get like, I guess, the most attention. So they write like combative, like, and it's like, it's on purpose because it's literally every topic. Like, you talk about romance, you don't have enough experiences to justify basing those off of what the total dating says. Like, what? Who died and made him the decider of how many times you can get screwed over by a chick before you're allowed to talk about how ridiculous stuff with them is? Like, what are you saying? Well, are you going to be available on Discord at some point ever? Because I've been waiting to speak to you on that website for a long time. Well, Megumi, my thing is, if you like a character, okay, like I really like X-Men, right? And a lot of the cartoons I liked, a lot of the movies I thought were okay. But with the movies, a lot of times I felt like the members didn't get enough screen time. I don't see where I would then say, in reference to the comics, oh no, I'm not going to read these, even though they're the reason that any of this other stuff exists. Like, I just think it's really disrespectful to the source material to just, throw it out like that. Give me a week and I should be back on. I'll hit you up when I'm back. I hope you don't vanish again, because I had somebody do that to me before. It was a voice actor. She was like, I'm making a studio to record stuff. Don't know how long it's going to take. And then you hit her up a week later. Oh, I'm resigning. I was like, what a douchebag. Man, when I read that message, I wanted to spit on the screen. I was so pissed. All that red herring. No, I read a comment yesterday that also made me kind of disgusted. And it's from that same guy. It's like, it's always the same, like 2, 3, 4 people that write weird stuff. Every time. You don't see Megumi writing anything weird. You don't see Banana Merchant writing anything weird. You don't see James writing anything weird. It's always the same, like 2, 3, 4 people. Yes. No, turds is what we're going to call them. He used this catchphrase, it's true. And he says, but it is possible to get dates if you treat it with the utmost focus. Before we even read the rest of that, I think that is such a ridiculous statement to make because, again, we're all human beings who have responsibilities and things to do that don't center around chicks. And it's like, I remember when I was at the craze, that the height of like talking to chicks or trying to talk to them, I was going on Reddit every day. Like every day I would go on Reddit and see what chicks posted something and then message them, and then you would get no response or whatever. They would say something and that's the end of it. So, like utmost focus already is kind of like, nebulous term. Like, what does that mean? And then he says, people who spend lots of their time talking to lots of different women have a higher chance of getting dates than those who focus mainly on other things. It's like, no, you talk to a whole bunch of chicks and they still have a whole bunch of men circling them and pick one of them. Well, your friend that doesn't want to watch the anime or manga is just silly. No, he's just lazy. Let's call it what it is. Like, you can't read something because you don't feel like flipping pages. If I went to college and I said, oh, I didn't do my assignment because I didn't feel like flipping the pages in the book, I would be called lazy. Like, you're literally, it's not like you have to lift something, you're flipping a page to read something. And I have like seen people on stream say that type of stuff. I'm sorry to say this, but I think that person is weird. Yeah, that's one of their strange quirks I don't understand. Treat it with the utmost focus. Oh yeah, dude, let me just toss away all of my other responsibilities in life just to focus on a group of people who don't give a rat's behind about me. Yeah, and remember, we even talked about this before, where there was a clown that came on my stream, my video rather, saying you should go to the gym every day until you meet a woman, then you go, but not as often. I'm like, who had, like, and again, this is before COVID. It's like, who has the time, whether they're a student, they have a job, any other responsibility, to go to this facility every day for, I don't even know if it's an hour, 30, whatever, and then like sit up in there and wait for some random broad to show up. Who, even if she gives you her number, still might not like you, because we had the, I even talked about the one broad that I said, I am attracted to you romantically, and she gave me her number, and then she revealed she had a boyfriend. It's like, what the hell was the point of that? Oh my God. The rest of this ridiculous stuff. I have been focused on other things a lot and not been putting all my effort and focus into approaching and talking to lots of women, which is why I've stayed single. Yeah, just talk to loads of women and it'll make a difference. Instead, I chose to visit hookers for over 10 years here and there to meet sexual needs with minimal effort while focusing on other things. Damn, they really make this stuff sound like a numbers. I told you, it's not. Romance is no longer about liking someone. It's just a weird strategic simulation. If I just approach this number of chicks, my attempts to get with one will go up by 7%. Go on this website and talk to 30 chicks a day. Oh, you know what? I messed up on my video because I said that I didn't know how many guys the broad who said too many messages to handle had spoken to. I looked in because I mentioned before I don't look at these messages unless I do a video. She actually did say it was around 90 because I just spouted off the number 90. She's like, that's pretty accurate. It's like, oh my God. But remember, if you think you can't get with a broad that has 90 men talking to her, you lack confidence. You don't believe in yourself. Right, and there's the chicks who give you fake numbers just so you would go away. Yeah, and I'm like, stop being a bimbo and just say you're not interested. Like, I've had chicks do that before. They didn't get stabbed. Because, they always try to make themselves be victims. Oh, I'm afraid that if I don't tell this man a fake number, he'll come back and get me. I'm like, well, I had a broad give me I guess what was apparently a fake number. I know where she works, but I didn't go back up there because, again, I don't care. Like, you're just a broad. They always think they're going to get assassinated because they told somebody they want to talk to. Wait a minute. Don't these people tell us to focus on ourselves because self-improvement makes us attractive to women? Now we have to do the opposite. Like what? Dude, that's why I said if you listen to the advice that these people give, you will drive yourself insane. It's all over the place. Like, in one breath, they say, focus on yourself so these chicks will find you more attractive. Don't think about them, and then they'll come to you. And the other, this one saying, oh, we'll talk to more and more of them and focus entirely on them. And then one of them will eventually say yes. So it's like, it's all over. Like, that's why I said romance commentary from these people is like having a dartboard and just throwing whatever at the wall and trying to see what sticks. And like I said, it doesn't matter what you do because if you don't end up with a woman, they're going to blame you anyway. That's why I was going to do the video on the self-improvement myth and how people expect you to do all this stuff, right? But then even if you do those things, you're still going to get blamed. Like I gave the example of how if I told a woman that she should go to the gym to get a man and then she goes to the gym every day or whatever, like again, I don't actually believe that, but just as an example, and she still doesn't end up with anyone, I'm going to say there's something wrong with these men. Look at this fit, built woman. What the hell is wrong with these men? There's something in their brains that, because see, that would be consistent because I believe in the advice I gave and I know that this person actually did what I told them to do. So now I'm questioning the behavior of the people that, they're trying to speak to. But these guys don't do that. They're just going to keep blaming you anyway. Like, oh, you have a six pack. Well, you're probably 5'2". You probably approached in a weird way. You probably, because again, designed to hang you no matter what. If you get rejected by a woman, it's your fault. And if you rejected women, right? If you said, I'm not interested in you, it would be your fault for being single too. So either if you reject or if you get rejected, it's your fault. If you're a man, if you're a woman, it's okay. Yeah, I mean, men are supposed to approach women according to the chick on the last stream has been going on since the dawn of time. Yeah. Remember, they want fairness, but they also want men to still approach chicks and not the other way around ever. But at the same time, men are also being called thirsty for doing what they told men that they have. Yeah, like they tell you to approach, but then they also shame you for doing it. Like it's really weird. That's why I said that like all this stuff is designed to be as antagonistic to men as possible. Can somebody else please write a comment on that video? That isn't ridiculous, like advice that is insane. I don't know if Megumi saw it. It was Ronnie says, online dating makes average women delusional and crushes average men's confidence. Like I said, when a broad who doesn't even show her face has 50 men try to talk to her, it's not wrong to look at that and go, this is insane. It's not worth my time. It's not going to change. It's like, damn well that if you didn't show your face, you would not have 50. You wouldn't even, man, I don't even think you would have a 5% of that try to talk to you. Like you said, dude, relationships are no longer about genuinely liking someone. It's now this weird 3D chess simulation, and it's now purely about social status. I haven't seen it yet, but when I do, I'll leave my comment. No, I'll be waiting for it. I want somebody to say something that actually makes a little bit of sense on that, other than one person. We have a 50-50 ratio of like weird comment with some that like makes sense. Let's tip it more in favor of the stuff that makes sense. No, remember when you thought talking to a woman was actually about liking that person and wanting to spend time with them? No, it's not that anymore. It's just wear this, act this way, go here. If I get this woman, my social status will increase by 50%. I told you about the broad that told me to put on contacts and admitted that it would barely make a difference. And I thought it was really stupid because I've never seen a man say he won't date a woman because she wears glasses. That's why I said all these people do is just nitpick your appearance until, just whatever. They find whatever problem they personally have with it. So they try to like use it as this, the fatal flaw. This person wears a necklace I don't like. That's why they're getting rejected. Dude, imagine how insane it would be if it's like, man, I just met this woman and she has big chest melons and a huge butt, but I won't go on a date with her because I don't like her necklace. I've never seen that, ever. And you would never see it. Because if someone actually did say that crazy stuff about a broad, they would get laughed at. It's only with men where there's like 99 billion problems with somebody. I'm really glad I did the I've been criticized for everything video because it's just proof of how one of the problems with showing your face with this stuff is that people don't address what's being talked about, and they get into like these weird, they're either psychologically analyzing you or they're trying to like analyze your appearance, and they're either doing both or one of them, and it's not helpful because it doesn't address what you're saying. Damn, so we not talking about animation no more. But we weren't talking about it in the first place. I just gave the example of how I didn't understand people liking characters, and then when there's media made about them, which is the comics, they refuse to read it. I don't quite understand. So that conversation was never about animation. I was just pointing out that it's like if you're so stifled in wanting to see a story because you don't like to read a book with pictures, and then you say, "Oh, this is too long as a show." It's really just you defeating your own thing. Like they don't have an interest in actually seeing it again. You need to switch your nose with another. Yeah, they a million nitpicks. Yeah, the fatal flaw. How stupid is that? Just how much they nitpick absolutely everything about a guy. Dude, I told you that like they have an unrealistic fantasy because they really make it sound like all of these chicks are just so gorgeous and beautiful and attractive. And it's like I actively see guys who talk about how ugly some broad is. But you're gonna sit there and tell me that I need to do all this stuff for somebody like that? Of course, this guy would still be here. He really doesn't have anything better to do with his time, it seems. I thought he just likes animation more than comics, but he sounds just lazy. No, he'll only read a comic if you send him like a panel of it. But if you try to like get him to read just one issue, right, 22 pages. That is really insane to me. That's why when people were saying, "Oh, if you don't like the voice actors for your show, you should just make a comic." I'm like, I can't even get 100 people to watch an episode. I'm not about to sit here and try to lower my audience even more by doing a comic. That comic could have the best art ever, and you still wouldn't have people reading it because they don't read. Like I think the Naruto manga is infinitely better than the show, but the show is the reason it got popular. I don't really like admitting that, but it's true. Like, it's sad because the manga is always probably the superior product, but the show's the one that's on people's TVs, so they go and check that out first. see what else is here. Comics are always better. Well, that's why I said that. Like, comic fans are some of the best fans of anything I've ever seen because they're the only ones that actively talk about how bad certain stuff they've had has been. Like, I don't know any comic fans that say Ultimatum is good. I don't know any comic fans that say, Brand New Day is good, Clone Saga, any of that. They always are like really consistent about this is a good story, that's a good story, this is bad. And sometimes they're divided, but at least there's always a faction of them who will talk about why they don't like something, as opposed to, oh no, this has this character's name on it, so it's good. Because I was getting really sick of that during when Super was airing, and even now with the manga, they're still doing it where they just like everything is good. Oh my God, look at Goku versus Granola. Oh my God, Vegeta's about to fight the new villain. I wonder what's gonna happen. Just that's one thing I like about comic fans. They admit when stuff is repetitive or if something is good or bad. It's nice. The Space Jam defenders are coming in hot saying it's just for kids. Yeah, I feel that is the case too with Naruto, even though I'm not a huge. Oh, I'm not either, Megumi. No, I mentioned before, I really like part one. And then part two, just for me, just dropped the ball in a lot of different ways because it didn't focus on certain characters and just kept introducing more and more characters to barely use. So I'm not that big a fan of it either. I just wanted to reread Shippuden because my memory of it is kind of it's not as fresh as I'd like it to be. So there's a reason why out of those different, I guess, mangas I was a fan of, it's the one I've revisited the least. Oh, I'm glad somebody likes them still because I don't know why people can't read books with pictures. That's crazy to me. So there are people who will defend bad writing because this show gives me nostalgia. Uh, I guess you could say that's like I know people who's I don't have a screenshot anymore because I'm not in that server. There was a guy who said he only likes Super because it's new Dragon Ball content, even though we were literally getting new Dragon Ball content between when GT ended and when Super started. We would get all those new games. We would get I guess new toys. People like still like those. We would get new there were new movies that came out, so you didn't need Super for new Dragon Ball stuff. That was just a stupid thing that people tried to say to get you to like something that, in my opinion, wasn't that good. But whatever. We really had a new game like every year. That was crazy. There was no show, not just new game, new game, new game. We also got DBZ Kai. I mean, yeah, but I'm just saying that like new stuff as in things you hadn't seen before. We kept having new things even during that time of like no new show. I don't know. I prefer animation for a lot of reasons. The manga version usually tell a better story, but they differ when it comes to action and fights. They both do different things. Well, listen, I look at it this way: the manga is the reason the show exists. So to act like the manga doesn't exist, I think is very rude and it's disrespectful to the source material. Like, sure, I watched the Dragon Ball anime all the way through, but I still like the manga because that's very consistent art by Toriyama. The story is faster paced, and it's what caused the show and all these games and the rest of that to exist. I'm not going to pretend as if it doesn't exist anymore, just because I might like to watch the show more than read it. Let's not forget that a lot of people like a show that has fighting. They'll stuff any of the writing or show or story the show has to offer. Oh, I know that too. That's why I've seen a lot of people who like these shows like use wrestling lingo. I'm like, wow, they really don't care about the characters. Like when I was looking at some of the Dragon Ball fans, it really seemed like all they cared about was transformations and like, just that was it. They know they can't defend bad writing, so they cling to it on an in this intuition, uh, intuitive feeling. I couldn't see it on my glasses off. Let's see what else is here. Did I miss anybody's comment? Oh, Revwin vanished again. I hope he really has come back because he disappeared for half a year. Oh yeah, by the way, on that video I did about the guy that turned heel, I think I mentioned that in his comment, he was saying him and this other person are avoiding me. And it was so weird to hear him mention the other person because that other guy I only spoke to one time last year, and that was it. Like it was during a group chat. Like I thought, he was dead. I didn't know he was avoiding me. I thought he was long gone. He's like, no, he's been lurking in the shadows, avoiding. He's like, I had no idea. You know what I'm talking about? There's that one, like when you find out someone is like trying to not talk to you, but then you just think they're either not alive or they're not they're not, you know what I'm talking about. Like, there are a lot of people who you're not avoiding, but you just don't have an interest in speaking to. I thought that was just the case with him. Like you're not on my friends list. Where I didn't send you a friend request. What the hell? Dragon Ball story, Pat. Oh, get out of here. Well, yeah, people like battle anime, and I personally love battle anime, but I judge the characters and how they develop, not by how strong they are. Dude, if I ever got to make my own Dragon Ball show, these fans would hate it because there'd be no transformations, other than maybe for the villain, but even then it would be like one form, if any at all. And it would be, I already talked about it before, just the basic premise. You're like, what is this? When is this person going to turn? Never. Like, get lost. The character strength will come with development. You over here trashing the Cell Saga. That's ban worthy right there. Don't try to tell me the Cell story, the Cell arc story was silly. Man, that's the last time it had any stakes. When Piccolo fused with Kami and they couldn't use the Dragon Balls anymore, and so nobody could die or else they couldn't be revived. That wasn't stakes. Dude, during the Buu arc, they literally have everybody get killed, and they're like, whatever, we can just revive them anyway. Like, if you want to say the Buu arc and everything after that was silly, I would go, yeah, whatever, but Cell Saga is great. There is no TV show without the story and writing, though. Yeah, dude, Cell's first form, I have met multiple people who said it scared them. Like an alien that is weaker than the heroes, that picks on lower powered people, just regular humans, to make part of his strength, and is like stealth. That's different than any other villain. All the rest of them are around the same strength as Goku or whoever the protagonists are of the respective arc, and they don't do stealthy stuff. They don't hide in shadows and lurk. Like a villain who becomes more powerful by eating people, where he sticks this thing in you, and just, that's silly. I love the Cell Saga. That's crazy him to say that. Everybody in this chat should put like at Dudley and then put L after that. It's ridiculous. Same thing with the Baby Saga. It's like you have a parasite villain who is mad that his entire race got killed by the Saiyans, and so he takes it out on the last remaining Saiyans by hijacking their bodies and leaving eggs in them to make them want to kill the people that they loved. And that's silly. No, that's why a lot of people don't like the Granola arc. They're doing the same revenge story with, they stole it from Baby. Yeah, especially the first form. With that beak mouth and those, like, distinct black eyes. And there would be only the one Super Saiyan transformation. Dude, I've actually seen people who say that they think Z should have ended with the Frieza saga. I'm like, you guys are crazy, because then what's the point of Gohan? Like, if his whole development was just, I'm the kid that gets angry sometimes and can fight a little bit, it would be like, what? Like, what? That's one of the reasons I didn't like Super. It's like you bring back Future Trunks, you completely ruin his happy ending, have everybody he knows love and die, And then his new ending is that he gets to go to a universe where there's two of him. And then you don't even resolve it before you end your stupid show. Cell Saga was written well, honestly. I'm not saying the saga standalone sucks. It is probably the peak of Dragon Ball, but it also opened up the floodgates to the... No, you know that's the Buu Saga, because during the Buu Saga, they made forms that didn't do anything, like Super Saiyan 3. They started fusions, which don't win ever. They're just there to waste time. They have characters who are introduced in the same arc that don't do anything, like Videl, like Goten and Trunks. No, the Buu Saga started that. Yeah, Super Saiyan 3 was my favorite form when I was a little kid. I always liked the long hair and like it was distinct. It looked different. Like you always knew when somebody was using that form. I take that over just, oh, let's make his hair another color. It really is a Megumi. I know you like GT, but you know that like the reason they had Super Saiyan 3 Kid Goku get destroyed by Baby was to hype up Super Saiyan 4. That's the after he gets 4, he never uses 3 anymore. He still uses the first one. I think he still uses the second. 3 is never used after 4 is introduced in GT again. That form just fades completely from ever being a thing. It is literally the forgotten form. Like you'll see, for example, like Super Saiyan 4 isn't canon, but it'll still appear in games like Fighters. Super Saiyan will always be used because it is the most iconic one. And then, like, you know, Gohan will use Super Saiyan 2 here and there if he loses Mystic. Super Saiyan 3 is the only one because Gotenks isn't a thing anymore. And, you know, Goku has all these other forms that are all so much more powerful and less energy draining, which doesn't even make any sense, but whatever. Yeah, I always concede they didn't handle Super Saiyan 3 and GT. And all they had to do was just have Gotenks use Super Saiyan 3 as, like, you know, the second strongest character because they could just say, oh, it's 2 bodies so it can handle the form easier. But they refused. They're like, no, we're not gonna let that form be used again. The only thing good about the Buu Saga was Vegeta giving Goku his respect and Ultimate Gohan, but that's about it. I really feel like Super Saiyan 3 was wasted. Yeah, it comes out of nowhere. It makes the fight between Majin Vegeta and Goku look like garbage because now you know that Goku could have won anytime he went. He just decided not to use the form that could have saved everybody by knocking out Vegeta and then going to kill Babidi and Dabura with his, you know, full power. And it's the only form out of the first 4 Super Saiyan forms that doesn't defeat a main villain ever in like the canon. Like, you know, Super Saiyan beats Frieza, 2 Cell, 4 Baby, 3 just fights Buu, and then, you know, it's always a standstill. Like it's just it's so dumb. Buu Saga was just made for toys. I think it was an arc that that's why I hate that my computer doesn't have space because I would do like a 4 or 5 hour review of the Buu Saga. It has a lot of good things in it, but it really is like the beginning of Dragon Ball just being ridiculous to me. Super Saiyan 3 ruins any sense of urgency. Well, again, it's just the fact that it's a form that comes out of nowhere that makes the Goku versus Majin Vegeta fight look very hollow. It makes Goku look even more like a prick for not using the form that could have saved everybody. Because he doesn't want to hurt Vegeta's feelings. And Goku will do this deliberately because he wants to fight them at their best. I'm so sick of that. Like, seriously, how many times has that got the entire Z Fighter team killed? That's one of the things I liked about the Saiyan saga. That, like, Goku is depicted as actually caring about his friends. Like, the only reason he doesn't get there before they die is because he can't. He has to fly all the way from the other side of the planet, and he's rushing to get over there, you know? Same thing with Frieza. Like, there's every time Goku fights somebody, he always is just beating them up, and, you know, like, it's only when you get to the Cell Saga, and even then, it's you still, like, not really. It's the Boo saga where it ultimately kicks in, where it's and now it's like, oh, I don't really care. We'll just let people die. We can just bring them back with the Dragon Balls. Who cares? At the expense of others being well, that's the biggest issue I have with the Boo saga. They literally have Boo kill everybody, and it's no big deal. Like people say, death in Dragon Ball doesn't matter, but that's when it started, where they just let people die to make the villain look strong, and they just bring him right back. Same like the same thing with Freeze, where he blows up Earth and kills everybody. No one mentions what it was like to die twice, thanks to two planet destroying villains. It's like it doesn't even matter anymore. Like when King Piccolo killed Krillin, or rather, not when he did, but when Tambourine did, there was an entire arc about Goku getting revenge. When Nappa killed pretty much everybody other than Gohan and Krillin, Goku beat him up as revenge. Yeah, not impactful whatsoever. Like you would think if a character dies twice, that would like affect them. Or like, oh my god, I've lost my life repeatedly. Never gets mentioned. No, the Boo saga is just a complete. Like I know a lot of people who don't like it. I'm always just sitting like 50-50, like in the middle, just trying to toe the line, but it's got a lot of problems too. I'll admit that. That was one of the reasons I was really praising of the Baby saga, because it's nowhere near as long as the Boo saga, and it has a very concise, clear, direct story with the villain that actually is fleshed out, with the motivation that I can believe in, and with powers that are unique. It doesn't waste my time getting me to think that other characters the show barely uses are actually going to do something to beat the villain, other than when they have Oops, Stall, and even then, that still has a payoff with him being inside of Baby and like messing with him from the inside and helping the people outside defeat him. So yeah, it's so sad. The Boo saga is just this really bloated thing that has some good characters, but just stuff all over the place. Like it can't decide on what its story is trying to tell. Like it looks for a while like it's gonna do the next generation thing, when it's like, oh, I could have defeated Boo with Super Saiyan 3, but I wanted Goten and Trunks to win, and then they get absorbed, and it's like, oh well, it looks like Gohan is gonna defeat the villain again and take his place as the new protector. Then he gets defeated and absorbed. It's like, it's, oh my god. But the animation throughout and the pace. Dude, you're not going to say a show with 64 episodes has worse pacing than one with 200. Get out of here with that. Like 4 arcs in 60 episodes is pretty good for pacing. You might not like the story, and I've mentioned my problems with the story before, but I'm not about to sit here like hell. A lot of times I felt like stuff was too short, like the Super 17 saga. It's like what, 5 episodes? Oh well, I don't know what's wrong with him. He needs to go burn his lava somewhere else. It's like, this arc is the best one. I'll always stand with GT. Yeah, but like I even have to defend it from some of the goofier criticisms, like bad pacing. That show is not even anywhere. That show's not even half as long as the original Dragon Ball, which has really good pacing. I'm not a big fan of Naruto, but Part 1 has extremely good pacing for an anime. 130 plus episodes, adapts all of that first part of the series. It's really good. It's only when you get to Shippuden that the bloat starts settling in. And even with Z, like a lot of people trash it for its pacing, but 200 something is not that big of a deal compared to some of these other shows. Like I said, they can read the manga. That's what I did. You figured these characters have been traumatized by how many times they get resurrected, yeah. GT uses a lot of plot devices by pacing. I mean, the way they progress the story. Well, just say I don't like the story. Like when you say pacing, you're getting me to think, oh well, it's taken too long or it's dragged out. But I don't feel that way with GT at all. Hell, I didn't feel that way with like this the Frieza saga outside of the Goku versus Frieza fight, the original, like not the Kai one, but just the original Frieza saga. I don't think has bad pacing at all, other than the Goku versus Frieza fight, which they did with like pretty much outside of the big major arc ending fights. The show has pretty decent pacing. Yeah. Well, again, I have a problem with the story, not how long it is. Sometimes I say it's pretty short. Yeah. Then like GT is actually like only a little bit longer than Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like there are American cartoons that are longer than GT, which is pretty rare for an anime. Yeah, I don't want to mention that guy again, Rev. We don't need to hear his opinions. Well, like I said, I have problems with that show, but its pacing is not one of them. It is funny to read some of the stuff about like because GT literally was supposed to be 60 episodes in space just looking for Dragon Balls. And then they were like, yeah, let's wrap this up. People aren't liking this. And then they, did the baby stuff, which was meant to be the ending. And then they're like, oh, we get more episodes. Let's come up with something else. That like it's really crazy to think what would have happened if GT played out the way it was supposed to, like originally intended, where there's like there's only one Super Saiyan 4, or there's not even that. He has a good design. I don't really find it interesting. Like out of the Shenrons, I think Nova was my favorite because it's the antagonist that turns into protagonist, the like noble demon. What does that even mean? A fever dream? That's the worst part about doing a stream. It's like you sit here for an hour so people can explain in detail what their grievance is with something, and then they don't even explain what it is. They just write some like nebulous stuff. You're like, what? Can you please clarify? We'd all like to know. Let's see, did I miss anybody's stuff? Dude, Dragon Ball fans are just like those other people where like there's a lot of them that haven't even seen the original. And it's even worse because they literally don't have to read anything. They can just watch the show like, oh, I don't want to watch it. Like I had the guy on my stream last year say that he wasn't gonna watch the original because they don't know how to blow up planets yet or something. It was some really dumb criticism. I'm not gonna watch a movie because the main characters can't blow up planets. It's like good, they actually have grounded stakes. I wish Super 17 was a better arc. It had some good parts, but it's really short. Um, they don't do enough with Jiro. It's like you have him come back for the first time since the Cell Saga. You don't have him interact with Cell. You don't have him interact with 18. You have him interact with 17, but it's like it's not even the real version of 17. It's a clone one. Uh, I just think there was a lot of stuff they could have done with that, just that idea, that concept, and they screwed it over. Was so limited that it made a lot of fights have no impact. Which, now you're crazy. The animation in GT was better than the original NZ combined. The fight between Goku and Baby is great. What's wrong with the Baby saga? Even though DB is the first in the series, oh, they need to be strong enough to blow up planet. Dude, that was said by that same. Do you remember the guy that made the video on me that privated it after I took like screenshots of his chat and made fun of it and how ridiculous what they were saying was? Like, that's the one that said that. It's like, damn, some of these people really have bad opinions about everything. Because it's really insane when you consider that most characters in fiction do not have the power to destroy. Like, isn't it? That's like a really weird criticism to have of a story. Oh, the characters can't blow up planets. Like, yeah, most stories don't have that. Like, you go and watch any TV show, the characters can't do that. But he's the same person that really liked Jiren, so what do I know? One of his favorite characters was the blandest character in the whole series. I was gonna end up doing a video called that, like, Captain, what was it? Captain Marvel is the Jiren of the MCU. This like boring, bland character that a lot of people like only because of how strong they are. Most people have power relative to the plot. I think power really does screw up some of these because it's like if the characters can't do anything to the villain, then what's the point of the story? If like, why are they even there? Like, you don't have to make every villain more powerful than the last. That was just something Toriyama decided to do because he thought his story was going to end. You know, so if your story is going to end with the Cell Saga or with Frieza or with Boo, you know, just make the villain a little bit stronger, and then oh, here we go. Now, if I did my own show, every villain would be like maybe around the same level of strength, and you'd have to win by using like certain techniques. It's like, oh, this person's made of ice. Let me learn how to burn something. I just would rather have a story where the characters are weaker but can all contribute than one where, oh, these two are so much stronger than everybody that the only time the story has stakes is if they're not in the story. The animation on GT was actually bad. You can look it up. A lot of it was outsourced, and most of the top dog animators in Toei worked on other projects. If you say so. Oh yeah, that's another thing Dragon Ball fans love, like whining about animators. This is the Shintani. Or like, I don't care. I just want a good story. That's why I like the manga because it all like I don't like Toyotaro's storytelling. I think he can't write worth a hoop. Like he's had maybe 5 or 6 chapters I would say are actually really good. But as an artist, you know, at least it's consistent. I never complain about, oh, I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna draw Dudley Punch in the Shintani style. Like, get out of here. I don't care. Hey, I'm gonna read the original Dragon Ball manga in the Toriyama style. That art was good. I don't care what anybody says. Somebody actually did a video saying that Toriyama was like a worse artist and writer with age, which I wouldn't dispute. Same here. I just want a good story. But see, that's why I like the manga because it's always like these are good artists. Kishimoto, even if I don't like his story after part one, is a good artist. It looks good consistently from the time it looks better as it goes on because he's improving as an artist. You know, getting used to drawing the same characters over and over. You know, same thing with Toriyama. So it's like you know, it's only when you watch the show that people start talking about animators and all the rest of that. Hell, I hated Dan Slott's run on Spider-Man, but I wasn't sitting there complaining about the the art style. Like, oh my God, Humberto Ramos. Like, I don't care. There are some artists I really like, but if they're not working on, I'm not going to get mad. Like I like John Romita Sr., but if he's not drawing, I'm not going to say, "Oh man, he needs to come back. This art is atrocious. I'm not reading this." Like, no, if the story's good, I'll read it. Like all these people are pretty much competent. They know how to draw for the most part. Yeah, I'm a writer. I care about the story. I'm not an art critic. Dude, I used to watch some of those reviews of Super and they'd be like, the animation this episode was atrocious. And it's crazy too because like I would I guess agree with some of that sentiment, but you know, you're saying that about a show that is so lazy it's taking two movies and stretching them out and having them be uglier looking, and you're surprised that it doesn't that, that it's like just overall an inferior product. Like, wow. It sucks too, because like a longer version of Resurrection F could work. Like you bring in the Ginyu Force, you have all the different Z Fighters fight members of them resurrected. You actually have like Frieza go around the planet and do evil stuff like that. You could theoretically make that movie, I guess, 4 hours long, like an actual arc, and it would like still have the same basic ending and start, and it would be more interesting to me. But they didn't do that. They just have it just the fight is stressed. Like, oh, here's 2 episodes of this person fighting Frieza. It's like, yeah, I already saw this. That's Dan Slott came up the nugget in love. No, he is the worst writer I've ever seen. I was so happy when he left. His decade of terror is over. It's him and Joe Quesada. You can take the two of them, put them in a little like garbage can, just throw it out. Atrocious writers. And again, maybe when I start reading some of these other books, I'll change my mind. But out of all the ones I've seen, because when I started reading that stuff regularly, he was the one that was doing it, and it was bad. Super has a lot of blind hate around the animation. It was really bad for the most people. Again, saying all of it was bad when some of it was good pre-tournament. Again, I mostly complained about the story. You have two arcs that are the movie stretched out. That like everybody I knew refused to watch it because who wants to see the same thing done over and over, except longer and uglier looking. You have a tournament where you let Vegeta beat most of the contestants. He robs Piccolo of a fight. He gets cheated like that. That still pisses me off. And then it's like, oh, Vegeta's gonna beat everybody for the rest of the tournament. It's gonna be the first arc where Vegeta beats. Oh nope, gets smacked around. Then you have a copy of Goku come around, and you bring back a popular character with Future Trunks. And because you want to be an edgy bastard, you have the stupid alternate version of Goku destroy the timeline. The worst ending of any arc in the entire series. Then you have Future Trunks disappear for the rest of the series. Then you have a decent tournament. That's how that show is. Most people just like the new forms anyway when it comes to Super. Well, like I said, when God came out, it was the first new form in like almost 20 years. So a lot of us did like it because it was something new. But then they make Blue, and it's like, well, I don't really like this because now every arc I'm getting a new form. Like if the anime of Super continued, I'm fully convinced we would have had another form because it was like every arc we were getting a new form. Like you have God, you have Rose, you have SSGS, the blue form, Ultra Instinct, and then Omen if you want to count that too, and then whatever that stupid form that Trunks had for that one episode. Like it just, oh my god. I remember when the blue one was revealed, people were calling that Super Saiyan Bulma. That show had so many forms, and it was one every arc. That's why I said people don't care about a good story anymore. It's just forms, forms, forms. Like in GT, they have Super Saiyan 4 and that's it. Like that, they have this one form, it's the trump card. Every conflict it's involved with, it usually wins or it has some big role to play, and that's it. That's why when people say that, like, oh, this show was made to sell toys, like, yeah, but GT doesn't have 5 new forms. Like, that's Super doing that. Trying to decode DB Super Story will give you it's all just meant for merchandise, throwing away new forms like it's nothing. Super has the most filler, at least. Man, the filler was the best in that show. The stuff that was like slice of life. Like they had those 2 episodes where Gohan has to beat that one guy that is like an actor. Like I thought that was better than most of the arcs of that show. Hell, a lot of the pre-tournament stuff was better than the stuff in the tournament. Well, they just completely like that's like the only good thing about the Moro arc is it's the first arc outside of the Tournament of Power where Piccolo gets multiple fights. Like he was my favorite part of the arc because it actually seemed like they were trying to do something. Like I noticed that Super's last couple of arcs have done more with Piccolo than like the rest of the cast. Like he's one of only a few characters that shows up in the Broly movie, and they don't have him get destroyed by Broly, just to make him look strong. He actually contributes to the plot by showing how to do the fusion dance. Um, he has multiple fights during the Tournament of Power, even though they have him get eliminated in the stupidest way possible by a dumb bug. Multiple fights during the Moro arc. I like what they did with. He actually is the most recurring character in the Moro arc besides Goku, Vegeta, and Moro as well. Like I was gonna do a whole video praising Piccolo in the Moro arc because that's like the first arc they've really done something independent with him in a while. So I just hope that they continue like to use him because he's a really good character that just gets shafted over and over in terms of either screen time or plot. Like the one thing I liked about the Buu saga was what they did with Piccolo. They don't have him. They have him get turn the stone at the start, but after that he's in like a mentor role and he sticks around longer than most of the characters. So you know, anytime they give him something to do, I'll at least give it credit for that. He's a really good character. It is a shame that they don't do anything with him most of the time after the Cell saga. Goku should have gotten a new form from when he ate a Dragon Ball. Not enough new forms. I'm tired of that. That's overdone. It's always acts up in this thing. Most people just like, yeah, those new forms are very lazily designed. They're just hair color changes. Like when the guy drew the whoever it was that designed Super Saiyan 4, you could tell they really tried to do something different. That'd be funny if I did a video like top 10 wasted characters in GT or something. Just who was the most screwed over in the overall plot of that show. No more transformations. I think Toriyama should focus more on other characters. Well, I've been saying that forever. That like they're really making me want to do my own Dragon Ball show just because I'm so sick of the Goku and Vegeta saga. Like it's been that way since the Buu saga, where everything just revolves around these two characters all the time. So I probably will end up I don't know. Part of me wants to, but the other part is kind of like the biggest thing that makes me not want to do it is just finding voice actors for chicks. Like that's the biggest thing. I'm just like, I want to put up with that again. I don't know. I like the story I thought of, but I don't know if I want to put up with other people screwing it over. I mean, I went through the basic premise before, where it would be about Gohan, Piccolo, Krillin, and then some other character, and then each arc would be a different villain that one of those three or the other character would defeat. So you're always trying to figure out which one it's going to be that ultimately defeats the main antagonist, instead of just, oh, this one person's always going to be there to save the day. And you wouldn't have some stupid thing where every villain is more stronger than the next. They'd always have to defeat them with some different technique they'd learn. Yeah, if they gave Ultra Instinct to the human characters, for example, I'd be a lot more. Well, that's why I don't like transformations in general, because it's about making stronger characters have bigger gaps between them and the rest of the cast. That's why for the Tournament of Power, they had to give everybody a ridiculous power up to make them be able to do anything. So many characters get shafted in favor of prioritizing Goku and Vegeta. That's why somebody said you would think Toyotaro and the rest of the people that write Super were in love with those two. Like they all dreamed about marrying them. Or that the show was written by Goten and Trunks. Like, no, my dad's stronger. No, my dad's stronger. I just think it's so sad. You have this universe with all these different diverse characters, and you keep using the same two over and over. It really is pathetic. And it's like they'll tell you, oh well, there's so many characters they can't. It's like if you have an arc, like the Tournament of Power is 50 something episodes, right? If you have an arc where you have 10 main characters, which is what it looked like for the Universe 7 team, you either can make them only have to fight, let's say, three other universes if you want, or just split the like. I don't believe it's hard to focus on 10 characters in 50 episodes. Just it's goofy. You have all these characters and they just don't do anything with them. Yeah, it's really insane. Like it took a tournament with almost with literally two basketball teams worth of people for 18 to fight somebody. I was so disappointed with her. Like after the Cell Saga, it's like here's this woman that can defeat all of the characters other than maybe like four people by the end of that arc, and then just oh she's gonna just sit back and get weaker and not actually be able to keep up anymore. What a great thing that was. Why can't they at least make a form for a specific character? Well, I'll tell you, all these forms are designed to do is just make the characters that are already supposed to be the strongest have bigger gaps between them and the rest of the crew. It's like, oh yeah, Goku and Vegeta were the strongest, are around the strongest characters at the end of the Buu Saga, so let's just make them even stronger and stronger. But what a great show that is. Yeah, I don't know. If I ever get like really interested, I might write like a season of that. Like put out a pilot, and then if people respond well to that, then do the rest of it. Because a lot of times it's just voice actors. Like I just am so tired of putting up with those people. You know what I mean? Like just having to keep recasting over and over because somebody wants to quit. Oh, I don't want to do this anymore. So it's annoying. It sucks too because you'll write a script you really like, and then you can't even make it because somebody doesn't want to read a piece of paper. Like that's a hell of a phenomenon, right? Like you sat here, you dealt with your writer's block, you conquered your fear of not being able to finish this, and then you finish it, and it's like, well, we're glad you wrote that, but we're gonna see if you're able to make it when those people are done with you. So even if you're able to go, like overcome writer's block, you always have your hands tied as far as like actually being able to make the thing by other people's roles in it. And you'll do everything you can to make that not the case. Like you'll tell them, I'll give you as much time as you need to do is just give me an update. They vanish, they don't respond. That stuff will really drive you crazy. So I don't know. It's just again, we'll see. Um, I'll try to write a pilot and then go from there. The way I usually the VA is a whole other arc in and of its yeah. It's just another ridiculous story. But I'll try to write a pilot, and then if I like that, I'll like plot out because that's always how I write stuff. I think of the start and the ending. Like when I was thinking of like a first season for a hypothetical Dragon Ball show, be 13 episodes. I have some basic idea of the plot at the start and at the end. Then you just have to get there. That's always how I write a season of something: the start, the ending, and then the little different stuff that progresses in between. I want Majin Tien. Any character as a Majin would have been better than Vegeta, probably. Like, imagine a Majin Piccolo where he's like embarrassed about the fact that Gohan just stopped training. So it's like Goku and Vegeta versus the Bora, and then Gohan versus Piccolo. And like it's only through Piccolo wanting to truly protect Earth that he's able to like resist the control. Like because he's so much of a hero that even the corrupting control of Babidi can't work. Like, wouldn't that have been cool? And they could have done that during, if they didn't do it during the Buu saga, they could have done that during GT with the Super 17 arc. Because we know that Babidi was, if we're going off the filler of Z, and then also the fact that pretty much every other major antagonist shows up during Super 17, they could have done that during that. Done that during that. Only character they can possibly give a new form is Gohan. I'm not sure about the rest of the cast. They don't even use Gohan anymore. Like if you read the Granola arc, for the last 5 chapters, just been new characters and Goku and Vegeta. For a lot of those early chapters of the Moro arc, it was new characters, Goku and Vegeta. For Tournament of Power, for those like later chapters, it was new characters, Goku and Vegeta. Gohan is like just left on the sideline. I know, right? And it's so damn ridiculous. Imagine beating one of the main villains of the entire like series, right? One of the most popular villains too, because I think Cell's probably the most iconic villain in the whole series besides Frieza. And then like your role after that just gets worse and worse. No, Gohan is just a strange character in terms of his role in this series. Like watching the beginning of Z and then trying to watch Super and know just how completely they don't do anything with them. It's really insane. Okay, but how powerful did Piccolo, Krillin, or Tien get after the boost? Well, they don't focus on them enough for us to know. Like we literally don't see Piccolo fight anyone in GT. Like he shows up and gets shot by Baby and then sacrifices himself, and then he's just in hell the rest of the show. Same thing with Krillin. We see him get one-shotted by Super 17, and that's it. Or rather, excuse me, by 17 under mind control, and that's it. And then Tien is like a cameo in that show. Or 2 cameos, rather. That's crazy. He doesn't even speak in that show. What the? Tien gets screwed over more than any. Like, he just, oh my God. I don't even want to get into that. The cast is too big. We can't do anything with them. Imagine having an arc that's 50 episodes and like you have 10 characters on the team and you're really saying that. Like if the arc was 5 episodes, maybe I get that, but 50? Because there are shows with only 50 episodes and they've like focused on 10 characters. So I said, people are really crazy. Like they will defend any ridiculous, and it's like, okay, well, with the term of the power, you gotta understand that a lot of people are like, oh, this character is the main character, but the real main characters of the Tournament of Power are Universe 7. That's why they eliminate all the other universes pretty much. They have the highest number of eliminations. So, that's why it's weird to me that you wouldn't try to focus on every member. Because they should take priority. Like, we haven't seen any of the people from that tournament that aren't from Universe 7 since that tournament. Which reminds me, I still am waiting for your Chi Chi video too when you get around to putting it up. Don't worry, it's coming. Is this what? Yeah, I'm a variant. Hey, I'm gonna have a female version of myself that I make out with in the in the season finale. Well, I thought that show was okay. I thought that moment was very weird, and it goes back to this thing of how, like, for some reason we can't have American superhero media where the protagonist doesn't have a love interest, even if it's a version of themselves. That is really nuts. Oh no, the TVA are gonna come get me. Better make out with this other version of myself. That was really nuts. Whew. Anyways, I'm gonna get off of here. We've gone for almost for over an hour and a half, which is my usual quota. I haven't watched any TV this year. Well, I like some of the Marvel stuff, but if you don't want to watch it, that's cool. I'm not about to sit here and try to promote be a billboard for them. um, so I'll do a stream again on Monday, and then I'll put up some edited video probably this week. So see you. Have a good day. Have a good rest of your Saturday. Megumi and Dio and Brandon, and I guess if James is still here, and Rev, we'll see, and then Banana. So thanks.